Today's guest is super special guest for me. One of my personal best friends. This guy, Court McGee, has spent 5 hours in the UFC Octagon, has over 25 fights with the UFC. He's a 4th degree black belt in the pit system, a Pedro Sauer black belt in jiu-jitsu, a badass wrestler, was going to be D1 wrestler. He's talking to kids, helps people with recovery, coaches high school wrestling. He's just a big part of martial arts and a big part of Utah martial arts. Let's get it going.
McGee, we'll just kind of jump right into it. It's I've known you for a long time, but I really only came into martial arts on the Utah scene for a long time. Ramsey, what would you say is Court's handle on the Utah martial arts world?
I mean, if there was a Mount Rushmore, he'd be on the mountain.
Who else is on the Mount Rushmore of Utah?
Jeremy Horn.
Ramsey Nijum.
Probably Josh Berkman time-wise.
Yeah,
who was
Josh
that third one?
Oh, Ramsey Nijum.
Nijum? Oh.
Yeah, I'll make you say my name later in our training session. You'll be saying my name. I won't let him tap out without. Sometimes I'll hold a submission. He has to say, "Daddy, stop."
No, that's not true. You know what he does though? So I was going with Madeline, one of the girls at the gym, but Ramsey will always put his hands over my face and suffocate,
like on the mouth. You know?
And so I'll say, so we're about to go with Madeline. I was like, "Oh, is that okay? Am I allowed to do that?" And he's like, "No, don't do that."
Why does he do that to me though?
Yeah. He doesn't stop talking shit.
He did tell me though, the Court, that you got.
That's all right, dude. Those guys, sometimes they get under people's skin, and then sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And I'm one that it doesn't get under my skin, but dude, there's been like when I fought Josh Neer.
Oh yeah.
Bro, the whole time he was like, "Fuck that! Is that all you got? Is that all you?" And I was literally punching him in the face, and he's like, "That ain't shit. That ain't shit."
FYI, Court set the welterweight record for
most strikes landed in the history of the welterweight.
The guy that was talking shit while Court's just beating the fucking.
But by the second round, his coach was like, "Shut the fuck up and start fighting." And he was still fighting. Like, he walked forward, and it's funny because he switched stance, and I kicked him to the body hard. And he switched to southpaw, so like his liver, it's on the right side, so it's on the forward side. But I definitely like sucked the wind out of him, and he started to fall down, and I collar tied him, like clubbed him hard, and hit him in the liver. And as I was punching him in the liver, Joe Rogan was like, "He needs to go to the liver. He needs to go to the liver to shut him down." And I was like, I hit him probably 9 times in the liver, and then on the ground, as he was going down, dude, he was like, "Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you," and like I was punching him to the liver, punching. The round ends, and he just hops up and walks over, like takes a few breaths, like pushes the water away, stands up, and I'm like, dude, he's not gonna have much left, dude, and he comes firing, dude. In the third round, I was like, oh. But before that, Hackelman, and it's funny because he just posted a video of it, and I didn't know he had it. I don't know how he got it either, but. He posted a video. He's like, "I want you to punch him in the fucking face and then move your feet. Hands up, chin down. Let's go."
Then get out. You need to punch him in the fucking face this round over and over again. Chin down, hands up.
And then just walked away.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was in the back because I was with Brock, so we were just watching on the TV, and I was like,
we had a
holy
bunch
shit,
and that was that was in Anaheim. That was a big card.
UFC 157? No.
Yeah, that was the very first female.
Well, I'm on point today, dude.
It was Ronda Rousey, Liz Carmouche was the main event, and then it was I can't remember
the first female fight in
the history of the UFC, and then the second fight was a big fight.
Yeah,
we were the third fight on the main card, and then the fourth fight was Josh Koscheck, 4-time NCAA All-American.
Oh yeah,
and Robbie Lawler, slept him.
Yeah. I remember
and that was his resurgence all the way back to the title.
And Tyrone Woodley was on the undercard.
I
forgot who he fought. He slept so, dude. Yeah. That was like when the UFC was doing one a month, every guy on
they were so they would do like it was like 16 cards or 18 cards a year.
Yeah.
And there was only probably 25 guys in your weight division. So it's like Anderson Silva was like at the height of his career at the time. And I had just moved down to welterweight, dude, and there was probably by the time the girls came in, they had picked up WEC.
Yeah.
And so it had an influx and had about 6
Rhonda
guys
was
in the division.
That's true. There's a lot.
She was in Strike Force. They brought her over.
Yeah. Because they bought
Strike Force or Invicta?
No, it was Strike Force. She was a Strike Force champ.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's right.
She fought Misha Tate in the Strike Force in one of the biggest events ever. I'm pretty sure, right? You
I
can
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest, most watched events ever with
Yep.
Misha Tate. Ronda Rousey won. And then the rematch happened like way past too long.
I'm so glad they did that. Dude, I think that set the precedent because it put like girls wrestling. So now we're in the third year of girls only state wrestling tournament here in Utah. And there's a bunch of other states that are doing the same thing.
I was in Washington State, and when I was in high school, they had girls only tournaments, teams, and states. So that was like.
Did they have a state?
Yeah, it was with girls.
I think
only
Hawaii was the first one.
Yeah, but like Washington was an early adapter, and same with California. I think they were.
Yep.
Utah, we're a little slow to the game around here,
dude.
you know. And women should be wrestling. You should be
Dude,
back in there and get you.
dude, can you imagine if Deanna had a chance to wrestle?
Yeah,
She would have been a multiple-time state champion.
yeah,
for
and
sure.
A lot of these girls. I mean, you probably have a bunch of girls that
Oh yeah.
are winning state because Court
We do.
coaches high school wrestling.
Yep.
Well,
I was the
so-
first 3 years ago. I was the all girls.
Going to current, then you're not. There's. It seems like for a while there was so many girl fights happening in the UFC. It seems like they're really tapering off, right? Now that Amanda's gone, Holly's not fighting as much now. Do you think there's no next big name in women's?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
there's 10 or 11 girls, dude, that are just.
But the girls' division's
yeah.
rising. Like,
Well, because the problem
everyone's
is that
good.
the big names have all kind of fought each other.
Yeah.
So
It takes time. It takes time to build that, but also too, you have to understand it's a game too, because it's like who's got the it factor, who can be promoted. You know, a lot of people it's time and placement. So you think some of these people, like for instance, Connor. Okay, not only did he have the ability, he had the mouth, he could back the mouth up, but also too, he's got a whole country behind him.
Yeah.
So of course we're gonna push him. The sales
Which,
go up.
And the
right?
Saturday, we have Andre, or
Yeah, Jessica.
Jessica Andrade, and
yeah.
she's blown up out
She's
there.
a huge star here too.
Yeah, people love it.
imagine if you could get like a girl Dagestani. That'd be insane.
They don't let him. They don't let him train. They're not training.
I remember the first time because like you see him outside of the U.S. Like the first time I watched Zhang Weili fight.
Do you think he could beat her?
Oof, she's mean, dude.
Do you think?
Because remember, she was the one that fought not Rose. She fought. What was the girl who gave her that big old hematoma?
Oh,
Oh,
JJ.
Yeah, Joanna.
Joanna.
young
Joanna.
Jess chick or whatever her name is. And remember, that was Zhang Weili that gave her that huge hematoma.
that was wild.
Gross.
John Wayne Lee is
mean. But then she lost to Holly, didn't she?
no. She just
definitely-
lost
she
to
lost to
who's a big star in her country.
Even here.
Yeah, even here. I think
bullet.
so. That's what I'm saying. I think women's MMA. So, which brings me to one of
It's
my
as
questions.
big as it's ever been.
Court owns a gym, or
Yep.
right, Agima, and
Yep.
then they have a bunch of fighters, and they have a badass girl fighter,
Well, a couple of them.
a couple of them, and Caitlin Neal's like
Yep.
what I'm referring to. And I was like, we're gonna have her on the podcast. She's like not right now training for some little injury or something. She said.
Yeah. Yep.
But when she's back, do you think she could kick the shit out of Kyle?
Okay, but hold on. Before you answer that, let's try our best now. We're a couple episodes in. I've known a couple fighters now. Let's not be a homer. Just a full-on, unbiased opinion. Okay, and we'll even do it jiu-jitsu and then MMA. How much does she weigh? I'm 245 right now.
She's probably
Maybe a little bit more after this.
150. I don't know. Now she stays pretty fit year round.
Yeah.
Grappling, I think she would catch you.
What, a heel hook? Because she's not going to be able to submit me. Because I could just toss her off me.
She's pretty tricky, dude. She's pretty tricky and she's strong.
And I guess that goes to the bigger question of, let's say, I mean, you guys are both pretty big guys, so you haven't had to go against much bigger guys. But
I did. When I competed in jiu-jitsu, I competed in the absolute division.
So
I
when you're
competed
going against a
great
much
big-
bigger guy, what's your game plan? You're going for the joints and the ankles rather than the chokes?
No, I
They
don't
can toss
attack. I don't attack ankles. I had a couple of instructors who were like very proficient with straight leg locks, knee bars, straight leg locks, and some
Drink
heel
Tim,
hook
he's-
stuff.
Yeah.
And so I drilled it and trained it just so I knew how to defend it. And then I would get to top and smash people. But it's like I had guys too, like Justin's brother, Brandon Reese.
Yeah.
A pretty
Big old
standout
bear of a
wrestler.
man.
His brother is a USA Wrestling Hall of Fame, like one of the greatest ever to come out.
One of my
Utah.
wrestling coaches in
And
college.
one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the United States, like phenomenal. Got the Dave Schultz Award in high school. Dude, he went like 140-4 or something, and most of those he lost as a freshman.
Yeah.
So just phenomenal. And then he was a 9-time world team member, 2-time NCAA All-American. Like he only really got his lunch money taken kind of by major decision from Cale Sanderson, who's the all-time great,
Yeah.
hands down.
And then he lost like in the Olympic trials.
Lost in the Olympic
The guy
trials.
he beat like 7 times.
Yeah,
Yep.
but even
And
with-
it's his brother. It's his brother that I went against in the absolute division, and he was like 270. Great big dude and gnarly,
And like-
ripping heads off
hairy,
bodies, dude.
dude.
that's a big boy.
Big hairy dude.
Yeah, they're big,
Yeah.
hairy.
So
And
what's
he's
the game
phenomenal.
plan when you're going against a much
Just-
So for
larger-
me was, so I didn't attempt any shots, and he's more of a Greco guy, so stand up. But when he gets a hold of you, he's super strong. So for me, I wanted to shoot on the legs. I wanted to shoot a single leg primarily, and try to like a seat dump kind of, and then switch to like a high C or switch to a double, take him down, pass. And then once he tried to like hip into me, I wanted to take his back. And that's exactly what happened.
But
So
when Madeline tried to shoot my legs, the thing is, there's so much weight difference that she couldn't shoot on.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it
but-
depends on how effective they are.
And
Like if they
she's-
can turn a corner.
Madeline's a lot more like she's just about to be a blue belt, you know, and she's had a couple fights.
Yeah,
while,
and Caitlin's got 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years of pretty
Yeah.
consistent training.
and
The only
she's
thing that's
fought
kept
in,
her
like,
out,
every organization.
she has. And I was super nervous about her competing because in the training room early on, she was working with a couple of girls and then this guy Kwame and was doing kickboxing, and then she would come in and do grappling. And then we had a B team where it's like all the guys that were kind of fresh in because we had so many fighters coming in. We ended up kind of being a hub. All the alpha male guys came out. They were going to hire Phil Davis as our head coach.
That'd been dope. We had
Yep.
a badass
A standout national champion. Yeah, dude, it became a hub. We had a couple of heavyweights that were going to come out and move out.
wrestlers like myself that wanted to fight.
Sean Jordan was going to move out.
You guys both have gyms, right? This is something I've wondered about a lot. Is how much ROI is it for you to have a guy that can make it big, and therefore, how much time do you spend thinking, okay, I need to work with this guy? Or is a lot of just showing up and shooting from the hip? How much time do you put towards guys that you think could really be something?
Here's the challenge with me is I'm still a current fighter, so I still need to practice 4 to 5 days a week just to stay current. So the time limitation, but here's the thing is I'm honest with all the guys who fight for us. I say, okay, listen, if they say, hey, I want to be a fighter, I say, okay, you got to give me 6 months and you need to be consistent. This is what you need to do. And I tell them they have to come to the striking. They have to get like 2 to 3 striking practices a week, 2 to 3 wrestling and or grappling, 1 strength training, 1 like strength, like workload workout, and then 1 hard conditioning that I specify. And then they need to either spar once a week or do sprint conditioning, which is like a 8 to 10 second sprint, minute and a half rest, and they got to do 20 to 30 sessions of that.
And then you do all that on their own
Every week.
on their own accountability. How do they? And same
Yep.
for you, Ramsey. Your guys. I mean, how much accountability? It's like I talked with Ramsey when it was when we had Jake here, Jake Shields, and Jake trying to impress Chuck.
Court was here, remember?
Yeah.
Huh? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Court was here.
Yeah, he was
Jake
here.
trying to impress Chuck. He was like
Yeah.
doing everything without being asked and different things.
Yep.
Yeah.
How much do you guys need to see out of accountability out of a guy before you're like, okay,
One
I'm gonna
out of
give this
about
guy
50 people I've noticed that say I want to fight have that. And the ones that they don't even need to be that talented or that great, but if they work harder than everybody in the room and just show up, those are the ones that you put your time in. because they're willing to put the time in. And that's the thing, is it's a time thing. And depending on their past,
I'm going the other way. I'm like, I'm
transition
100%
yeah.
off choosing off of pure talent and ability. I'm like,
How do you assess
Nope.
how do you assess the pure talent ability? Like,
just their practices.
yeah, I mean, like
Their
you can
practices.
see like the way someone
Yep.
can move and the way like I show a move. I mean, you've been to class, like
Yep.
we show a move and then you go and see some people are like over here, like Kyle's like, I do this. And he's like glazed over. He's like, coach, and you know, and then some people you show it and they're over there drilling it. You know what I mean? Like Mike, like Jim Doherty. Worked on it. That's how you say his last name. Or like some of those younger killers like Talon, they're just over drilling it.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, they're talented
Yeah.
and they put in the effort and they do more than right. That's all
Yep.
you really want.
Yep.
Is someone that's willing to do like you're like, I'm not gonna show up and be able to motivate someone to be a champ.
And that becomes challenging. And we have a teammate who's, dude, like one of the gnarliest fighter. Like, so Chuck got his nickname, the Iceman, because he didn't get nervous before fights. Like he was like ice cold. Right. I've only met one other person that was like that, and
Seiler.
that's Steve Seiler.
Yeah,
bro.
we'll have him on.
He would be visiting and like,
I'm not okay. I'm
Dude,
not exaggerating.
sports books.
I thought you were going to say my name right now. I'm
Yeah.
not lying.
I almost did, but you hadn't fought yet.
Yeah.
And this dude, so
We just know it.
dude, this like there's some that are just killers and then can just go, like turn it off. when
Like
it's go
literally
time.
we're sitting in the back of the UFC and like literally people are crying, peeing
Yeah.
themselves, nervous,
Yeah.
and he's over here
Freaking.
brings his wife as one of his corners so they can like pick furniture in the back.
Yeah.
They're picking furniture
Dude.
for their house
Yeah.
that they're gonna use on his
And
paycheck
he's like,
that he won.
hold on.
Hold on,
I gotta
honey,
go
yeah.
fight.
And then he went out and swear to God, I was in the back with him, knocked out Matt Brown.
Mike Brown.
Or Mike Brown.
Yep, knocked
Slapped
out
him
Mike.
one punch, came back. He's like, hey,
back.
actually, babe, let's get the more expensive one.
Yeah.
I got knocked out.
Dude.
Swear on my life. And I'm like sitting there warming up, like, God damn, bro. I wish I was like you, man. I was like nervous, like shaking,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no one talked to me.
Too hyped up. a
Yeah,
little
like, yeah, come on. And Tyler's just like, what are you all excited about
Walking
for,
out there
man?
flat.
He's not even like, it was weird, bro. Yeah, ice.
Yep.
Dude.
What's I mean, even in current UFC, I mean, when's the last time that you guys have been in a locker room for a UFC? You were here for Salt Lake?
Yeah.
I didn't corner anybody that night, but I was there for the event.
Okay. Like, what's it like in there? I mean, are guys legitimate, like, because they got to show
Oh, dude,
good
there's
for the
I mean,
camera.
Corey was
freaking
just
out.
fought a few months ago.
What does pre-fight jitters feel like? Because Jake talked about walking out to that GSP fight was insane.
Yeah.
I was supposed to fight on that card. I ended up tearing my ACL grappling.
Day
Jake.
one in camp
Yep.
at Jake's. Remember Jake said he brought us out?
Yep.
Day one, Court tears his
me and-
knee.
Yep.
The only person there sparring is me, and I'm like 19 years old. I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck, I don't know if I'm ready. And Jake's like, me and you were going 10 rounds in the
Yeah,
cage. And I was
yeah.
like, fuck, dude. He proceeded to beat the fuck out of
Yeah.
me.
Dude, I tried to practice too, and then
Yeah,
by
yeah.
like Wednesday or Thursday, I was like, yeah, I think I need to get my knee
Yeah,
fixed.
bro. You're like laying there on the
Yeah.
bed in the hotel room, like,
That's the only time I backed out. As a matter of fact, that was Chris Weidman's shot.
oh, yeah.
Yep.
Chris Weidman
Chris
replaced
Weidman
you.
shot. I was supposed to fight Jesse Bonfeld, which I'm kind of glad I didn't, dude. The shit I had to go through to get into Canada. Oh my gosh. I had to get like a governor's pardon. I had to get like 4 or 5 reference letters.
For what?
For
Court?
criminal.
You're the most.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so funny. I hear.
Turns
this, 'cause
out
I've only
inside-
ever known Court
Sober.
sober.
Yeah.
Post this. So like when I
Yeah.
hear these stories, I'm like, what the fuck, really? Like, what do you mean? You're he's like the most. He was here like before us.
Yeah.
The only
We're
bogus
supposed to be
charge.
here before him.
Dude, the only bogus charge is fraud. And that's one that they questioned. So I had to like go down and do an explanation of my charges, and it was like 4 pages long.
Would you fraud?
So it was theft of services. So what happened was my brother was working security at this little like over 18 club or under 18 club, right? And it was just like a dance club.
Downtown one.
Yeah, no, it was in Ogden.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, and there's some gang activity or whatever, and so he had a friend that took his shift, and then he called him, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I broke up a fight, and they're talking about stabbing me and this and that. I don't want to walk to my truck because they're gonna follow me. Would you come pick us up? And I'll just hop in your truck, and we'll drive home, and I'll come get my car in the morning." And we were like, "Yeah, we can do that." But me and my friend Cody, we had been drinking. And we didn't drink a bunch, but like probably like an 18 pack between
The
both of
demons
us.
were coming out.
Bro. And
That
so
was
we were
happening
like,
last
yeah,
night
let's
with
go.
Deemer.
So we rolled up and we were just like waiting for him to come out. And I had snuck a couple of beers. So I like pulled him out and Chris is like, get the fuck out of the truck. So we got around the back, like opened up the tailgate, sat down, and we were waiting in the parking lot behind these garbage cans. We drank the beer. And like, he's like,
Before
okay,
the
well,
fight, you're like, I gotta
I'll be coming out. I'll be coming out in just a minute. We'll come pick you up. And so I walk around and like I put the beer cans in a sack and I throw them just in a garbage can, like in a dumpster in somebody's parking lot. So that's fucking theft of services.
No.
But here's the
way,
thing. Here's the thing. I threw it in there and then I
No.
came back and this dude with a hoodie on walks up to my brother and he starts like pointing to him and blah, blah, blah. And they start arguing. And this dude like grabs my brother's shoulder. So I like sneak around the front of the truck and I was like, hey. And he turns and looked and I decked him, dude. Body locked him and suplexed him on the ground. He was an undercover cop. Dude, and he got dogpiled by like 10 dudes. Dude, I got zip tied, like hog tied. They put me in the back of the car and I like slipped out like this. And I was sitting, dude, and they came in and they saw me that I slipped my hands from behind my back to the front. Dude, and they ripped me out. I ended up getting arrested, and it was like inciting a riot. It was gang
my
enhanced,
God.
and then theft of services, which ended up like reducing to a fraud charge.
That's
which is
hilarious.
bullshit, but it's like, but I didn't
Using
get.
somebody's dumpsters.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
ended up-
that's-
it
I like
ended
could
up-
never
yeah.
corner fought in Canada a couple times.
Twice, dude.
And he was like,
I was like, hey, can you not send me?
And then
Don't
they're
you
like-
remember? Because when I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter, like I was pretty open with my story about, hey, listen, like, because I tried out for season 7, they didn't like me, and that was the Matt Brown season. And then season 11, I tried out again, and I made it through the tryouts just fine. I had the record. I was like 11-1, and I had lost a decision to Jeremy Horn, so they knew I could compete at a high level. But they wanted you for TV. So they were like, what makes you different? Because everybody was like, this is my last chance. I deserve to be in. Like, everybody said that, according to them. And it really was. I was going to go back and be a plumber. But it's like, I was like, hey, listen, I said, the only thing is if I stay sober for another couple months, I'll have 4 years of continuous sobriety. And I got a pretty gnarly criminal history, like inciting a riot, trafficking, like, I mean, a bunch of stuff. And so he's like, okay, yeah, great. We like you, man. You're on. And so that's how I made it on. And then I was open about it. And there was a couple of guys in the show that eventually ended up needing some help that I was able to help out with. And, you know, it's just like, it was history from there. But I was really open with being a person in recovery. And
Well, and both of you were in the Ultimate Fighter house.
Yep.
What was your experience like in there?
um,
You were on season 11?
so we both had to
Tough
fight
11
to get,
champ.
we both had to fight to get in the house.
no, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because they had like some
Oh, yeah, that was a
random
couple of
season,
seasons.
like
Yeah,
they were cut a couple
Oh, yeah, that's
episodes or
right.
something. So
Yep. So he's a 2-time Ultimate Fighter
Yeah.
contestant. So he went on a normal season and then the
redemption season.
redemption season. But it's like, so you try out, you get your pick, we got called, and then it's roughly what it is a 16-man bracket, but single elimination. So ideally 16 fight to 8, 8 fight to 4, 4 fight to 2, 2 fight in the finale 3 months later. It's filmed over like 6 weeks. And mine, there was a hitch, like it was only a 14-man bracket, and then they would bring back 2 people that they thought deserved it. But they had to stop doing that because of the injuries. Like, dude, Chris Camozzi broke his jaw. Another dude, like, dude, leveled his nose worse than my break.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like inverted, dented, crushed it,
Like
broke
as
his
far
orbital.
over you could ever see.
Bro, it was like
It's
bad.
like that,
It's
like
Dana
that one
White-
picture of that, who was it that fought where his nose was literally like over here?
It's like that. It's
Yeah,
one of those
like
ones.
that.
It might even be that picture you might be talking about. Like literally, Dana White
Yeah.
always says it's the hardest tournament in sports.
It really
and it
is.
is because I remember my third fight, walking out, I broke a foot,
Dude, just
ripped my
beat-
groin, tore my
beat
back.
shit.
I had like my hands were swollen. My eye was like bloody red from getting punched earlier.
Yep.
I just got cauliflower. I'm like hobbling out to the third fight, like
Yeah. Come on, don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
Yeah,
You're like, oh,
I'm
shit.
trying not
And dude,
to.
it's like Mike
Over a
Tyson
contract,
and
they'll
your
give you like
coaches.
10
Yeah, not even for
8
10
and 8,
G's.
8 and 8, dude.
8 and 8 contract. Bro, the money that was like looking
Yeah.
down, like I would never fight for that. Holy shit,
Yeah,
dude.
dude, it's
Holy
crazy.
crap.
Yeah, but it was like the if you got to finish, you got $5,000. They'd pay half up front and then half if you showed up to the finale. and then they paid you like $500 a week or something.
Yeah.
You made like $3,000 while you're there. And dude, it
Bro,
was like
I got home with 20 G's in my pocket, and I was like, bro, I just literally
Yeah.
just graduated college, like
broke too.
broke, like
Last night we were coming back from Wendover, and you were like, "Would you drive back for 2 G's? Would drive back to Wendover an hour and a half?" I was like, "Hell no!"
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that fighting for
Yeah.
3 G's. That's
bro, you
horrible.
wouldn't fight for $100,000.
But that's the thing is you at that time you had to fight to get in the house. So
What's your
everybody
number,
had
though,
already
Beaver?
fought.
To fight?
Yeah.
Who am I fighting? Somebody, an equal opponent?
Yeah, equal opponent.
I mean, equal in size. Obviously, somebody's gonna be.
Yeah.
No. I mean equal in ability too.
No, like
'Cause you'd
even
want a good fight.
this. Think about how many times you've been in a fight and you're like, no, the guy you're gonna fight, like this motherfucker might knock me out. Like he's
Yeah.
a dangerous dude.
Had a couple of
You
those,
know what I
dude.
mean? Like one of those fights. How much would it take for you to go into that?
Is it nationally televised?
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone's gonna watch it.
It's funny, but I gotta get at least $500,000. And
Yeah.
nobody's gonna pay me $500,000
Yeah, yeah.
to get knocked
right.
out in half a round.
$500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It's like
Yeah.
always when you're doing those bets or those questions, like how much for you to. blow
Yeah,
a
but
dude.
it's easy
But
for
it's
somebody-
Less for you to blow a dude
nobody's
than
gonna pay me
fight.
$1 million to watch me cry through a
Yeah.
blowjob.
It's easy for somebody to say that. They're like, dude, I'd go out there for $500,000, no problem. Or like, I'd go out there for 100,000. Dude, that's easy. It's only 15 minutes. And I'm like, dude, the amount of time it takes to get in there or even qualify for you to be in there
Or
is
anyone wanna watch you
outrageous,
But the thing is,
dude.
I'm going out for $500,000, and I know I'm a lamb to the slaughter. I know I'm going to
So
get my. I know I'm gonna get whooped.
So I went through. So it was
I did
just
it for
over
$8,000. Tony Ferguson, I'm the Ultimate Fighter. I was like,
dude.
I'm not prepared for this fight. Like I was like 21.
Eight
Even-
G's because you didn't get your 8 and 8 because you lost.
No.
I lost. It was 8 G's, bro. And I went out and got slept into the shadow realm.
Yeah.
Fucking saw tunnels, came back and cried on national TV
Yeah, dude.
for 8 G's, bro. I was like, God damn.
Yeah. Dude.
And a contract where I got to continue to fight monsters for 10 and 10.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, because it was 15 and 15 for 3 fights, 20 and 20 for 3 fights, 24 and 24 for 3 fights. And then I hired a management company, which at the time was the top management company.
Yeah.
So I ended up fighting my last fight for 24 and 24. And then my next fight, I had just beat Robert Whitaker. And they were like, yeah, but you only won by decision. So we're not going to be able to get much more.
Look, and this is what's wild.
Is that how they go to the? So do they do it like the NFL where they go to the negotiating table saying, "Hey, you got all these problems." I mean,
Yeah.
are they dogs in the negotiation?
No. So negotiation is pretty well set. So you have arguing factors depending on who you beat, how many wins you put together in a row, and if you can show up.
But then
'Cause there's
like
a lot of
that, you
people,
just beat
dude.
Robert Whitaker.
But
he
there's
wasn't the champ at the time.
But he wasn't Bobby Knuckles at the time. He was just
Yeah.
Robert Whitaker coming up, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, he was the Ultimate Fighter Australia
Champ.
winner, and
Yeah.
he had beat a couple. So they were trying to do Ultimate Fighter winner champion. So it was like I fought the Brazilian champion, I fought the Australian champion, and I was supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum.
Oh, yeah,
3
that's
champions, and then it was supposed to go into top 5.
You're so much taller than Kelvin. Kelvin was here in
Yep.
Salt Lake.
Can you believe he fights 185 too?
Yeah,
He's going back to 70, I think, right?
Oh, good.
He was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight that.
Shavkov.
Shavkov.
Yeah.
Then he
Is
just got
he
hurt.
from Ukraine?
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
No,
that guy.
Shavkov is from Uzbekistan.
Is he?
Yeah, he's
Uzbekistan guy?
Uzbekistani.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Oh no, Kazakhstan. I'm sorry.
Like Borat.
Don't kill me. The wolf, or
Yeah.
not the wolf. What is he?
I don't know.
What's his nickname?
Dude, he is
hunter.
fighting.
Shavkat though is nasty.
Oh yeah,
Wonder Boy.
Yeah, he's
and
fighting Wonder
I mean
Boy.
that's a great fight. I think he's just. I mean, Shavkat has like tall man defense. You know what I mean? Like he's sometimes so tall, he like
Yeah.
gets hit a lot.
Yep.
But he just comes forward, dude. He's gonna walk Wonder Boy down and make it a
so,
miserable
too.
night. I mean, that's a rough. They say, hey, you don't want to fight Michelle for a few pounds? Here's some Russian.
Kill you.
Yeah.
Anytime they get mad at, or that's another trick before negotiating.
They'll throw
They're
you
like,
for a killer.
here's a Dagestani no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
But how
Good
is
luck.
the negotiation? You said it's pretty straightforward. They're like, hey, this is
So
what
it's
we're gonna
pretty
give you.
straightforward. Yeah, it's kind of
I
like
never negotiated. I always had managers. Courts actually negotiated his own contract.
When
Yeah,
you
for
have
the last
managers, they
9
just
years.
go for you. You don't even sit in the room.
No.
No,
They don't
dude,
like talking
sometimes-
to people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, they would rather work with you. It's just you have to know your worth, and so it's kind of like where I didn't decide early on to talk a lot of shit, to push and promote myself. Like, I'll promote the fight a little bit, but I didn't get caught in controversy.
Yeah.
And I've seen the negative side of that too many times for me to think, dude, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's not how I am in life. And I mean, if you're willing to deal with that shit and you want to get heckled all the time, like, go ahead. Yeah, you might make a couple $100,000 more dollars, but is it worth it? It's like,
The rest
dude.
of your life to have to deal with it.
And when you're, especially if you stuck around, well, it's like, for instance, I went.
But I also think there's a thing like, let's say like our favorite, WWE wrestlers, the
Yeah.
ones that you hated the most. Now that you're an adult and they're older and retired, you're not gonna heckle them. You'd be like, oh,
No.
I was like,
Nope.
You know what I mean?
But in
I
the
think I could
time,
see
you
that
get
being
it.
with like Colby, like.
Yeah, but think about it, dude. Like, I don't want to say that. We were just talking with Jake about there's people that don't even show that they have kids because you can't even walk down the street if you get really famous and have people not come talk to you in front of your kids. You're still a person.
Yep.
And so if somebody come and talk to you in front of your kids or saying some stuff in front of your kids, you're gonna have to fight that person.
Exactly.
I'm very private though with my family even.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
all
but the
my-
thing is, you weren't big controversial. You know,
Yeah.
these guys are big controversial.
Yeah, that's what I'm
come up to
saying.
the
Yeah.
street on them.
Oh, I mean, in
and that's
current
a-
events
that's a
right now,
scary thing.
did you see the Jorge Masvidal just got acquitted, right? Is
Oh,
that the
for
right
that
word?
sucker punching
For
Colby?
sucker punching Colby. All charges dropped. And he was like, I mean, who knows the whole story behind
Yeah.
it? He had his lawyer and he had like a little video and he's like, we out, this is my
Yeah.
lawyer, call him or whatever like that.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, if you're willing to play that game, but I wasn't willing to play that game. So it's like, but here's the thing is no matter where I go, I mean, I just went to Puerto Rico and dude, I had, we were at, Castle de Moro, like the castle.
Yeah.
Right. Built in the 15th century. Dude, we were walking around and this guy, like, he was like, hey, I think that's Court McGee. And like Chelsea, my wife, was right there and like walked past. Is that him? Do you know if that's him? And she's like, yeah, that's Court McGee. And so they were like, oh, dude, I watch all your fights. And he named off like 10 of the fights, and I ended up taking a picture with him. And then he talked about like he had a cousin or a brother or something like that who struggled with addiction and is overcoming it. And so it's like, it's like getting that feels a lot better than somebody like ragging on you in front of your wife or ragging on your wife while you're right there.
Yeah,
Cause
the
like,
thing is,
dude, yeah, dude.
Well, like with the Conor McGregor thing, like,
Yeah.
remember the Dustin Poirier when he made the comments about his wife?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just too fucking far.
Well,
Don't you
the
Yeah.
thing is, too,
Yeah.
is like, so did you see that Connor's fights and Nate's a bunch of fight contracts have just been released?
Oh yeah,
and Conor
no,
only
the
made
financials. So they figured out how much Conor was
Conor only
making.
made $6 million for the Khabib stuff, and $6 million can sound like a lot, but for all, I mean, that basically
That was one of the
basically
biggest
couldn't go
pay-per-views in
anywhere.
history.
Yeah.
One of the biggest pay-per-views in history, and now he can't go he can't go to Russia. They'll kill him.
Yeah.
And he had to say all that stuff for $6 million. It's not.
Yeah, is
I
it
mean,
worth it?
for the $100 million going against Floyd and all them? That's one thing. But for $6 million to
Yeah.
not be able to go,
But
take
it's kind
crap.
of interesting because like the boxing world is used to it more. I feel like.
Yeah.
So like in the boxing world, people are just like hyped up. Like the Floyd Conor was just really hyped up because the boxers are like boxing fans want to see the controversy. You know what I mean?
Cumulative though, like boxing has grossed way more money because
Yeah.
it's been around longer. Like your first $1 million.
But they also
fight
sell
was
the
in,
stories
1909.
more.
And maybe it's just
but they
being,
sell the
maybe it's just being in
You
the
know?
echo chamber. But I've always felt like boxing is dying and UFC's so huge. But that's just because I like UFC better. I guess.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, dude. It's
Yeah.
as popular as it's ever been, if not more. Dude,
Yeah, boxing's bigger than it's ever been.
Yep.
Like all the champs now are like big stars.
That's the thing is imagine. I mean, Conor was getting $6 million. Imagine what Colby's having to do, and maybe he's getting $2 million.
That's the thing is,
He
yeah,
can't go
Colby's not. I mean, he can't go out, and that's the other thing. He took it far, and like, but then I wonder, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think like 10 years down the road, people be like, oh,
Yeah,
that
but
was the
that's
bad guy?
That's 10 years down the road.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I mean, but look, like even Strickland said in that press conference is like, I don't go out because you guys are just gonna mess with me and I'm gonna have to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Like Nate when he was down in Mardi Gras and he had to choke that guy
Choke
out.
the dude out. Yeah. No, and it's
That's
interesting.
not
Like,
worth
Nate
it.
Diaz?
and like, yeah. Remember? Did you see that video?
He
Did
choked.
some-
He choked a guy unconscious.
A Jake
What was he
Paul
doing?
lookalike They were like fighting inside, and the fight went outside, and he just got him in a guillotine and choked the guy out, placed him down nicely, and then they tried to press charges, but I don't think it's stuck. You're in.
Yeah.
You're in
Dude,
New
and here's the
Orleans
thing: is
streets.
both Nick and Nate are very polite, and
Very nice guys. Yeah.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, I didn't, and I don't want to get too much in, but it's just it feels like the sport's not where it should be in terms of the money wise. And like I said, I don't want to get into that too much, but it's to do all that becomes such a heel for so little money.
Yeah, like to be a heel for like 100 million, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like I also think I
Yeah.
agree. Like people don't. I feel like in MMA there's too much, like not too much, but like people are too focused on the respect part of it. You know what I mean? And they like if you sell
Yeah,
a
they try
fight.
to oversell it.
No,
But
well,
there's
like they're like
there's also cringe, like Izzy Adesanya. He's so cringe with his
Cringe, yeah.
trash talk that it's not good.
Yeah.
He actually ruined more of his reputation by doing that than
like the Elsa thing. Like I'm
I'll
gonna freeze you. Like
I'll put you on skates. I'll freeze you like
yeah,
Elsa.
That was pretty dumb.
Have you ever had somebody in press conferences try to be the heel to you, and then what's that? And
A couple of times. Strickland was
Yeah, let's get into that. Well, I mean, Strickland was
I
talking
would
shit the whole
say-
fight, wasn't he?
yeah during the fight and before, but he wasn't.
And then he was talking
actually-
shit to me for being in
He
your
wasn't
corner in the
yeah,
back.
so he was talking shit to Ramsey, but he was mainly like talking shit to what was that? What
I was eating
the-
ice cream. I was like, bro, calm down.
I'm sure that you antagonized him. You
No,
can't
the-
help
No,
it.
I didn't. I was so surprised.
Who was the super nice Sage Northcutt? Remember
Oh,
he
yeah,
fought
yeah,
that
yeah,
night.
that
yeah.
young kid who
Dude,
got his jaw broken.
super
by
respectful, like
Cosmo.
super nice, traditional karate guy. And we were in the back, and like, dude, he was like savagely talking to this kid, talking about his mom, like, dude, just like bad. And everybody was just like, oh, dude, like you
Dude,
could tell
too
everybody
rough,
was
yeah.
like, bro,
Bummed
what are
out.
you doing, man? Yeah, they're like, man,
like a little
hey,
rough. See the
dude.
kid crying, you're like,
yeah.
but like even when you fought him, it was what was it called? It was a draw.
It was a draw, and then it was overturned. So it was like,
Did you ever get explanation for that?
no, nothing.
And you can't do anything about it, or
Nope.
And that cost you how much switching over to a?
That fight probably, okay, I had a controversial split decision where I was paid my win bonus the fight before that.
Yeah.
And then the fight before that was Ben Saunders.
Yeah.
Which was a horrible decision. Like I outstruck him 2-1. I took him down. I attempted submissions. Like it was a pretty bad. So I had 3 bad decisions in a row that were like they were great fights, but dude, it was just judges.
So that's
Like one of them was 30-27 in my favor, 30-27 in his favor, 30-27 in his, or 29-28 in his favor.
yeah.
big swing.
So
Yeah,
you're like,
so-
how do you? It's
Give me
polar
3
opposite.
rounds.
Yeah, give me
if
3
there's ever a
rounds.
split, it should all be 29. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, it should be a split in the same favor.
Yeah.
But dude, it's just like that's the problem with the judging. But outside of that, like that, I never got an explanation
Like my
or
last
what happened,
fight,
or
I
if
mean,
it was,
a bad
mistake.
judging, and it cost me my contract.
Yeah.
Do you
Dude.
guys ever like? And this was
And
why-
so I lost roughly $60K on that
Ugh.
for that night.
Yeah.
Dude. And that's what. Here's my. I know I keep coming back to the negotiating thing, but also about decisions. Also, all your bonuses. Is it a lot more like for me? I always like the car lots where I'm going to buy a car where I can negotiate. But some lots are like, hey, we don't negotiate. That's it.
Yeah.
So do you guys just not get any ability to go to the UFC brass and be like, hey, I deserve it, or they're just like, hey, this is what it is. Take it or leave it.
So it kind of depends on your relationship with them. Sometimes you can ask them for a little bit more. Sometimes if they're like, hey, we want you to fight this guy. Like Ponzinibbio, they could not fight anybody to fight that guy. And so I took that fight and they sweetened the deal for me. Right. And then nobody wanted to fight Sean, super
Brady.
tough kid. Yeah, Sean Brady from Pittsburgh. Nobody wanted to fight him. He was 10-0 coming into the UFC. Dude, dominant, had like a bunch of finishes. Nobody would take the fight. And so I got asked, hey, I'm having a hard time finding a fight for this guy. Would you be willing to do it? It's like on his home turf. And I was like, yeah, man. But I've never like backed down from, because here's the thing. It's like you can pad your record a little bit, but not much because everybody's pretty good in the UFC. If you want to, you can play that game. But for me, I made it to the UFC and I earned the right to fight the best guys in the world. And so I've never shied away from that. And when you look at the record, it's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, he's 10-10 or whatever. Well, 9 of those were split decisions, or 8 of them were split decisions. 3 of them were controversial. The Nick Ring one, super controversial. Ben Saunders, controversial. And it's like, but I never ran my mouth after. I was just like, okay, I took it. But you look, dude, that's a $500,000 loss.
Have you guys ever walked into the? I mean, I know you've said in hindsight you wouldn't have done the Tony fight. You were unprepared for it, Ramsey. But have you guys ever walked into a fight knowing you're a lamb to the slaughter? Like Chael said when he went to fight John Jones, he knew he was going to lose.
I never felt like I was outmatched. I never. Even like these last 2 are kind of the hardest. Like Ponzinibbio caught me. They stopped it. They could have let it keep going. And I think I would have been okay. But I had never been stopped. I got sat down a couple of times, but I'd never been stopped. But 3 fights ago, I got caught on the chin like a minute into the fight, and my lights went out. And so for me, it's like, dude, hats off. Like, you caught me, dude. Period.
Like, you never felt like going into one like, shit, man, I'm not prepared for this?
But, no, I've always been overly prepared for fights. And then next, like, there's some that burn. Like the Matt Brown fight burns because I can beat that guy hands down. However, I had 2 pretty herniated discs, right? And then I had a couple of cracked vertebrae, so like a broken neck, and it's like, dude, it was super stiff. I'd done my steroid injection about 8 weeks out, but because of USADA, you can't have it in your system within a couple of weeks. So I timed it to where it would be out of my system so I wouldn't get in trouble or flagged for having a corticosteroid in my system.
Do you feel like you should have took that fight, or like?
Here's the thing is
2020.
Regardless of what I think, like I prepared. The last couple weeks was really tough because my neck was in a lot of pain, and like leading up to the fight, the neck was in a lot of pain. It was hard to turn my head. And so, it's like hands down, I'm winning the fight. And I was up on the cage. I had a single leg. I popped out, I hit him with an elbow, and I re-dropped right back onto the single leg, dude, and my whole arm went numb. And then you watch me back off from the cage.
Yeah.
And then I took a right hand that sat me down, and like, dude, it was just like, just like, fuck, dude.
Well, Ramsey, you talked about that one time where you shot on the guy, and then you just felt your legs go out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
almost like you rock yourself.
Yeah.
What's crazy is like the mentality is like, okay, now I need to, instead for me, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm done.
Yeah.
But
you got to find a way around.
How do I need to adjust so I can continue to this fight for 10 G's?
And you have to do that. Well, dude, and you have to do that throughout your whole career. It's kind of like
this fucking asshole's been making fun of me so much because we're at last night at Wendover gambling, and he's like putting $1,000 hands, and he's like, I don't feel anything, and I just was like, dude, like $20, and like, you poor.
Well, it was just me and Deuce were talking like, oh, when I go up from $200 hands, I was losing, and Ramsey was like, yeah, every time I go up from $20, I'm like,
Exactly.
It's true,
like,
but dude, when you're
never been a working man, look at those hands. Dude,
dude, when you're competing, dude, it's like it's figuring out a way. That's the elusive part to it. Is it's kind of like I don't really care about the hype. I don't really care about who it is that I'm fighting. I care that a minute and a half, 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the first round, after you get through that little break period, it's like now it's just fucking me and you, dude.
But it almost feels
And that's the elusive
Well, I think
part.
too, like I want to actually talk about it. You bringing it up, the neck. So then you had surgery. You want to talk about that at all? Or?
I had a bilateral disc replacement. So
What is that? I don't even know what that means.
Also, we got flamed. I'll just say, I'd like to issue a correction. I apologize. Last episode, I was saying ligaments instead of tendons.
Oh, yeah.
my God.
We
I'm
got
so
flamed
sorry
because
for
of
my
the John
medical-
Jones.
We were talking about John Jones
tendon, and we said ligaments.
We get flamed.
Yeah,
Sorry,
people are
I didn't go to medical school. So, can you please explain the bilateral to us?
Like he says it.
But make sure you use all medically accurate terms because the
our
audience
crowd is
crazy.
very medically.
Sorry, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, Dr. Bob was pissed.
Well, yeah, they have Google.
Yeah.
But C5 through C7. So those are my vertebrae, C5, C6.
Yeah.
And then you have the disc in between. C6, C7, you have the disc in between. So they scrape the disc out, and then they put a prosthetic disc in, like a Orthofix M6 prosthetic disc where they jam it in between the two discs, and then they kind of trim things up and make sure it sits. So it's two discs in between my 3 different vertebrae. So this vertebrae, this vertebrae, this vertebrae. And then you have your 2 discs in there. So it takes about 90 days for your vertebrae to bond to the disc. So you don't want to take a lot of impact. Otherwise, that stuff can move around. So I've just slowly started to strength train and get back and do
no
neck
contact
therapy. Yeah, like no contact. I've done a little bit, like a little bit of light jiu-jitsu escapes, a little bit of light drilling. And
how is it like post-op?
oh, dude, post-op, I felt like $1 million because I've had a radiating pain down the back of my arm, into my forearm, and then my pointer finger, my trigger finger went completely numb.
Yeah.
And then a little bit into my middle finger and a little bit in my thumb. And then I had a knot in my chest and my bicep tendon. Like I did 1,000 chin-ups in like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I remember that, dude.
Yeah.
During COVID.
You know,
So I was trying
I probably haven't done 1,000 chin-ups in my entire life.
You probably could do one.
I could do. I
Well,
think I cranked
somebody
3
broke
chin-ups.
No way,
the 24-hour
dude. I'll
world
bet
record.
you
So I
$100.
I was messing around because it was during COVID and there was nothing else to do. So I started doing a couple hundred chin-ups a day, and then I kind of prepped myself, and then I did a 500 chin-up, 500 push-ups, 500 double unders, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna see. And somebody posted that it was like 4,000. I think it was David Goggins. He did like 4,000 something chin-ups or something, and so I timed it out, and I was like, okay, well, if I can get 1,000 in under 3 hours, then I could break his record in half the amount of time. And so I was just trying to do that, and I ended up getting to 1,000, and then after that,
How long did it take you?
it was like 2 hours and 41 minutes or 45
Like, were you just
minutes.
like downstairs in your basement hitting it out?
No, I hung a chin-up rack, so it was like my feet were off the ground just enough for it to be like
Tall.
legitimate enough to where like I couldn't touch my feet. So you couldn't say like, oh, he's cheating.
So you had to jump up onto it?
So you have to jump and reach. So that way it's full hang, like my legs aren't touching the ground.
Yeah.
And then
so
you
did
do
1,000 real. I bet you can't
So I
do
did
3.
so I did
real ones.
6 a
Chin-ups is
minute.
different. This is chin-up. This is pull-up.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Pull-ups. It was pull-ups.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did
I can't
1,000.
do. I can't do 2 pull-ups.
Yeah. So
Chin-ups.
pull-ups.
Have you seen these guns? Oh my Lanta.
But you start to like your hand. The worst part of it was my hands. It just like, dude, it ripped my hands up, and so like you have to have like gloves, and I didn't use any of that stuff. I just
What was
went
the
out
music
in
playing?
shorts.
Yeah,
No
what-
music. I just had a timer.
No music.
raw
That's
music.
dark,
Yep.
dude. That's dark.
And
Went
then-
to a dark
you
place.
fucking had some demons and COVID was coming out, bro.
But
I felt that.
it was
you know?
like almost 3 hours of 6 chin-ups.
Yeah.
A minute.
I was
And that
bored
was
as
just
fuck, too,
every
man.
minute,
I'd be
dude, just
down.
Bink, bink, bink. Yep. And so I was like trying to go on par with breaking, because I was going to try and break the world record, and I think I can't remember his name. It's who's
Cam
the guy?
Haines.
Cam Haines' son.
Yes.
Yeah.
I met him at a UFC fight, but he did like 8,010 in 24 hours. So he broke Goggins' record, and
That was
Goggins
just
broke.
recently.
Yeah, it was just recently.
Damn.
But I think this is a little bit before he started posting about that stuff, or at least until I recognized it. But it's like, I don't know, once a week I like to do stuff like that. Like I'll hop on a concept two rower.
I bet you're down there going for glory, and your wife comes down and says, "Oh, are you still doing this? Trying to break a world record?"
Yeah, yeah.
She's like,
Can you
hey,
take the
I need-
trash out?
But dude, here's the thing: is I thought I was going to
Seriously,
tear
dude.
my bicep tendon. Dude, it hurt for months after that.
Oh,
and
man.
turns out it was C5 or C6, C7 disc that was herniated. It wasn't even my bicep tendon. And dude, I
I'm
was
doing the pull-ups?
from doing the pull. No. I thought it was,
Oh,
but it was the herniated
already
disc.
herniated.
Yep.
Oh.
And so it's like I finally. So now it's like, oh, maybe I'll go back and try and beat the 8,000.
Now that I feel good.
Because I was on par for beating it,
God,
but
dude.
also too you have to look at longevity. Like I would have to pull it back a little bit.
Yeah.
You also have to ask yourself
And-
the important question of like 5,000. Is this worth it?
Yeah.
It's like the officer's like, "Is this worth it?" He's like, "Don't
Yeah.
answer that."
Yeah.
I will say,
I guess if I was willing to
Saturdays at
monetize.
Court's house, like when you want to get ready for a fight, you wouldn't make it through these workouts.
Yeah.
He has
I
these
think
gnarly hour and a half workouts that he
I think
puts.
I think I'd lead the workout personally. I'm built different.
Let's
Some
go.
of them get pretty
I
hard,
want to
dude.
go.
We should do it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
film
let's do it. While
We could do it
Court
and
can't
film
roll
it.
with you, how
Yeah.
what we do is it's called called Old School.
Yeah.
It's an old school workout, and he was in front of his house.
Yeah.
The thing is, for me,
His neighbors come out. The old lady's like, "Oh, go!"
My big problem I've had when going to workouts with guys, especially like high level athletes have done them, is I feel bad. I mentally break them, and
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Yeah, we're so worried. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
No, I think that'd be a funny little
Yeah.
short episode of us coming down and doing.
We were doing something
Yeah.
the other day, and I went. I was just rolling with. I forget who I was rolling with. Zach? No,
Yeah.
it was. Who was I rolling with? He's the strong guy. Did wrestling in high school.
Oh, Greg.
Greg.
He's a
and I went
race car
I went and
driver.
puked my guts out. In the back. I was
Yeah,
like,
they
this
were
is-
battling.
Does Sean still come?
No, Sean moved. Oh. He's a high school teacher in Tacoma / wrestling coach.
Oh,
out
yeah.
there.
Okay, well, we're getting closer. I do want to talk quickly on a couple things. One, tell us about what your speaking engagements are right now, and tell us about the McGee project.
So the McGee project, it started actually right before I fought Robert Whitaker. I got asked, so I got a call, and I hadn't been in trouble at all. I was off paper. I had done all my UAs. I paid all my lawyer fines, court fees,
What does that mean
restitution.
off paper?
Off paper with the state of Utah. So all like criminal history. I took care of all
Hey, look
everything.
at me. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Criminal
Yeah,
record.
so-
What does that mean? Like no probation anymore?
No probation. Yeah, I was off. Like I hadn't been locked up. I had become a professional athlete. I tried to change my life. I changed all my friends. I started attending recovery meetings. I worked a 12-step program, started taking people through the 12-step program, like made recovery my life. So everything was going really, really good. And then I got a call. Hey, this is Detective So-and-so. I need you to call me back.
Ugh.
And it was a message, dude. And I listened to it and my heart sunk. Like, holy shit, dude, they caught me for something. And I just thought I had missed it.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, Chelsea, like, I got a call from this guy. What should I do? And she's like, well, call him back, dumbass.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I call him back.
What should I
and,
do?
I'm like, hey,
Call him, should I run?
This is Court McGee. And he's like, oh, dude, I
It
didn't.
runs out of your house. Like,
Yeah, dude. I didn't know, man, because you don't know.
no,
It's
no.
like-
and you went to your old thought patterns. You
well,
know what I mean?
fuck, dude. There's like a solid 18 months that I don't remember.
Yeah.
Period,
knows
dude.
what happened, right?
Like lots and lots of boot. I mean, I was shooting up probably 20 times a day when I was using heroin, dude, all throughout the day,
crazy.
and
Bro,
still
that's
working
like
full time.
The
Like,
hardcore, like 5,000.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
what that's
Yeah,
the pull-up.
dude.
Yeah.
and so I'm just like,
Maybe you broke that world record.
man, like,
Yeah,
did
you
they
might
catch
have,
me
bro.
for something?
Shout out.
No, dude.
I think you've probably done more heroin out of anyone living currently. Like anyone else would be dead. Court
Dude.
is like, oh.
Man, yeah. So
Court did die. Yeah, that's
I
right.
did, yeah, September 9th, 2005. So, I got asked to
Got the call,
I got,
yeah. You
got
got
the
the
call,
call, you-
and then I got asked to speak. And they were like, "Hey, man, thanks for calling us back. Hey, we're having this Utah Anti-Narcotics Assembly. It's every narcotics officer, undercover narcotics officer, and sheriff's department in the state of Utah that deals with like drug task force stuff. And we would love for you to be the speaker." And at the time, I'd only shared my story in like 12-step meetings, so I hadn't actually like professionally shared my story. Had no idea how to do it other than sharing my story of, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now after recovery. And so I
And
just
at this point, you get this call. How long had you been clean?
probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay, wow.
So I had a significant amount of time. I had been through the fucking ringer. Like, dude, I had made some
Bought
money.
your
I'd lost
house
some money.
already.
I bought my house.
Yeah.
Like, I had like realized that being a professional athlete wasn't money, fortune, and fame. It was fucking, now you really got to work hard.
Yeah.
Now you can take it easy, but if you do, you're going to get your lunch money taken when you show up to fights. And so I had a team, and I'm like, dude, we gotta do conditioning day. We gotta do striking. We gotta get better here. We gotta get better here. And dude, there was gamers like fucking Ramsey that would show up and push you. So I kind of like put together a group, and then they would bring, hey, well, let's do this and let's do that. And then pretty soon, dude, we had this whole group of people. Life was fucking going good, and then I get a call, and he said, hey, will you come down and speak? And I just immediately was like, yeah, absolutely, and after that, my heart sunk. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to tell these guys. And he said, by the way, the officer who's responsible for you being alive is going to be present in that group of officers. He was there the night you overdosed. Had he not found the syringe, you wouldn't be here today, right? And so I was like, well, shit, dude, I got to go just to publicly thank that dude. Give him a hug, tell him thank you for being a fucking good cop.
Yeah.
Plus, when do cops get a chance to hear the redemption story
Yeah,
and then
right.
come to personally thank them?
Yeah.
So they were like, dude, if you charge us 20 grand, I'll pay it, but I'll probably lose my job. And so I decided before I went down there, I would charge him exactly what it cost to get down there and get home, just to thank that dude for saving my life. So I showed up, I went down, I shared my story. And after I got done, I had sheriff's departments and rural communities. Dude, you need to come speak to our high schools. We got kids that would totally resonate with this. You just can't drop the F-bomb. And I'm like, sure, I can do that. You know, it's like I married an LDS girl. And so I had to hold my tongue when I'm in family dinners every Sunday. So I'm like, I can do that. And one of my friends in recovery, he was a professional speaker for like a financial company. He gave me some pointers. He was like, highlight here. You have an intro, highlight here, highlight here, highlight here. Tell some funny stories and then close it out with something powerful and leave them with, you know, something that they can take home with them. And I'm like, okay. So I worked on it a little bit, went down, spoke. And like a couple of weeks later, I had a sheriff's department that was like, hey, we're in Emery County or Carbon County, which is one of the hardest hit counties in the whole country with unintentional overdose death rates, like super high per capita. So I went down, I started speaking at these high schools, and then pretty soon I had a friend that was like, hey, dude, I have a nonprofit. It's a recovery-based nonprofit. Would you be willing to come share your story? And I said, yeah, but you got to pay for it. And so I went in, and then the whole group of them were like, all substance abuse dudes. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you guys need some fucking help. And so I started helping them. And then the nonprofit that they had, it went out and I took it over and then I changed the name and I went through the whole process of redoing the nonprofit, having like the letters, making sure that it was exactly what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to go in high schools, like alternative high schools, juvenile justice, and then like recovery community, open to the community, and then share my story of overcoming addiction. And then if anybody comes forward and they're like, hey, listen, I need some help, I will use the contacts that I have. I'll use the licensed clinical social workers, treatment centers in the area, contact people, to contact local law enforcement to see if we can get some help. And then if somebody comes forward with a problem, then I can stay there and take care of that problem until it's taken care of and give them an opportunity to have an opportunity like me. And so, you know, and like when I go into a high school, dude, the kids that are skipping school usually that are already starting to struggle with addiction or having addiction inherent in their like their family life, those kids gravitate towards it. And then it's like I go there to make recovery look attractive because a lot of kids that are partying and starting, like when I was younger, I was like, dude, well, this is fun. This is what fun is. But it was like fun with consequences. And then it was just all fucking consequences within a year or two of me starting to drink and use. So those kids, you know, and now with overdose rates and addiction rates, like now that there's some like real-time stats, dude, it's scary, man. Like, I mean, I don't know, but like in Utah, we've had over 40 unintentional deaths to smoking weed this year. Oof. As in a kid goes to smoke weed, but it's laced with fentanyl. And whether they know or not that there was fentanyl in there or they are purchasing it to buy that, or if it just happened to whoever was selling the dope was like gave them this bag instead of this bag. Dude, it's almost like Dare 20 years ago when they were like, listen, when you smoke marijuana cigarettes, you're, the egg. You're going to just die. Well, now fucking kids are dying, dude, under the age of 23. Like, that's a kid. And so it's like, if you have the disease of addiction, which me, dude, I've got great parents. I got one older brother that's great, like no addiction, like very supportive, great, you know, hardworking middle-class family. And for me, once I started drinking, I couldn't stop or limit the amount. I had to fucking drink it all, and then I had to go somewhere. Like, it didn't matter. And for me, like, I've always been a little entrepreneurial, a little ADHD. So, like, when I have an idea in my head, I'll fucking do it and then finish it and then go on to the next thing. And it's like, and I've always been able to do that and adapt to situations. But, dude, once I started, I couldn't stop. And so, you know, I talk about kind of highlights being a person in recovery and fighting. Like I turned down a joint from Snoop Dogg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not
God,
like
would
that's
you?
that's not.
No way.
I've never smoked anything in my life, so I'd be embarrassed the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
With one hit.
And so it's you know it's kind of like little things like that, or being able to travel around the world and then like having an after party, but me not partaking, just being a part of, seeing what and then going through the process of traveling and not getting drunk. Because there's people that have been drinking for 20 or 30 years that don't think it's possible to go fishing without beer, and it's like, I've been doing that for over 17 years. I did it this morning,
And had fun.
And had fun,
Yeah.
And I remember it.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing.
it's like, so the McGee project has turned into, it's like community outreach. I spoke last month. I spoke in Colorado. I spoke in New Mexico. I spoke in New Jersey. And I spoke here in Utah to a middle school. And I had at least one person come forward that I'm currently working with right now in all 4 of those locations, trying to get them the opportunity to achieve recovery if that's what they want. And so that's what the McGee Project is. And you can, the McGeeproject.org is our website. So if you want to book an engagement, you can go on there. We have an Instagram, the McGee Project. I think it's the _ McGee Project.
The McGeeproject.org is where they can book it. What would you, just kind of signing off here, what would you say to somebody who's in the midst of some deep, dark stuff? What's step 1 for them?
Well, number 1, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. And you're worth it. And here's the thing. This is what always has helped me is there's somebody out there that will not get sober or will not have an opportunity unless you're willing to get sober. And it's like, I meet people and they're, at the lowest of their low. And they're like, dude, I don't fucking have anything to offer. I've lost absolutely everything. And here's the thing is they have something that nobody else has. And there's somebody out there struggling that will not have an opportunity unless you choose to stay sober today. And it's like, that's a powerful thing because I've had an opportunity to help lots of people over the years. And I mean, dude, I've seen people who have come from nothing to these incredible, it's my story. Dude, I was, middle-class, hardworking family. I was a kid from Layton, Utah. And now I've had a 13-plus year career in the UFC, 25 fights. I've become a father that I never thought I could be.
Statistically, should be dead.
Statistically, I should be dead. And I died once. I mean, I had no heartbeat, no pulse for 8 minutes. They did CPR and defibrillations. Had the narcotics officer not found the syringe that had fallen in between the linoleum and the wall, I wouldn't be here because at the time naloxone wasn't a thing, right? And it was dude, they wouldn't have known. And I didn't have track marks. My mom was a nurse. And so I wasn't going to shoot up in my arms. Dude, I was shooting up in my neck and in my feet to hide so she wouldn't see and know that I was using heroin. And the place I was staying, they were like, hey, listen, you can't use here. And so I had to hide it, and it's had he not found that, there's no fucking way I'd be here, and they administered Narcan, intravenous or directly in the heart and reversed the effects and induced me in a coma.
Shit, they shoot you right in the heart?
I think so, yep. Like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
dude.
Pulp Fiction.
The problem for me has always been, and we'll kind of go over this, is I haven't had the no pulse or no heartbeat, but ice in my veins has just kind of always been my
Yeah.
But
I could tell when I came in here, dude.
I just see that.
Court was intimidated. I told him, don't worry, Kyle won't hurt you.
Yeah.
I'll hold Kyle back.
Yeah. If he gets too aggressive, I'll sit him down. I keep telling him, one of these fighters we get on here doesn't think he's going to be funny at all, and they're going to kick the shit out of him.
Well, they'll try.
They'll try, yeah, but I can't wait for it. But hey, before we get off, though, this is special for me. My boy Court, I got to wear his.
Yeah.
He's been a
that's
part
right.
of his life. He's been a part of mine.
Yep.
Thanks for coming out. That was pretty fun.
Hell yeah.
Corey McGee, you're the man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Thanks for tuning into The Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.